Dr Reena here. I'm a global dental specialist and founder of RW Perio, located at 75 Harley Street. Welcome to season 3 of my podcast, Life and Smile, where we talk about everything dental, lifestyle, business, and much more. Every episode, I'm joining conversation with a specialist expert in their chosen field, who gives us a behind-the-scenes glimpse into their daily regime, career turning points, and an insider look at what they can't live without. As a businesswoman myself, it's so inspiring to hear how people have built their careers and shattered those glass ceilings. This third season is sponsored by Colgate. Committed to sustainability, they're obviously a household name, and as a dental expert, they are my personal fail-safe go-to to ensure my smile is always looking and feeling its healthiest. So, let's get the conversation going. As a renowned editor for British Vogue, Lauren Murdoch-Smith has the final word when it comes to everything lifestyle, beauty, and wellness. Having worked at the title since 2014, she is currently holding the title of Vogue's Acting European Beauty and Wellness Director. Highly celebrated for her work across the industry, she is often writing from a personal and lifestyle approach. Lauren, welcome to Life and Smile.
Thank you so much for having me on. And wow, what an introduction. Like I mentioned to you before, this is the first time I've done this. So it seems strange to be on the other side.
Yeah, no, it's such a pleasure to have you here on Harley Street. So let's rewind and start back at the beginning. So how did everything begin?
I kind of fell into the industry, which is I think how a lot of people end up where they end up. Because I think when you grow up, particularly when I was growing up, there was never that person at the careers fair that said you could go and work at a magazine. That was always something that I enjoyed looking. I loved magazines. My mum was very much into beauty. And so I always knew I loved that side of it, but no one had ever said to me, if that's what you're interested in, you could go and do that if you wanted to. So I got offered some work experience through a friend who didn't want to let an editor down, and she had managed to secure some I think it was 2 weeks at Marie Claire, and she said to me, would you mind doing it? And I just thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to go and see how the pages are put together at Marie Claire, because Marie Claire at the time was such a, it still is, it's changed a lot, but at the time it was really at the top of its game. And so I went and did the 2 weeks, and I met the most incredible people, Nicola Moulton being one of them. And I enjoyed it so much. I basically said, look, when I have more time, I'd love to come back and spend longer. And it was at the time when internships were how you got into the industry.
Yes.
And so I went back and I spent maybe 6 months there, and she actually gave me the opportunity to write my own page. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have my name in print. It was just the most incredible feeling, and I'll never ever forget that, and I'll never ever forget how much of an amazing opportunity it was that Nicola gave to me. And it kind of just rolled on from there. So from there I went to work on reception at Marie Claire, and I was there and I'd help out with beauty, because it was such a brilliant role in that if they knew you were interested in a particular department, they'd let you help out there as long as you did all your other duties, like sorting out the post. And then from there, it was that we were actually in the same building as InStyle. And I went on to do the reception placement there, and I helped out with the beauty there. And at the time, they used to do the Beauty Awards. I don't know if you remember, it came in like a separate book, and it was kind of a bit of a Bible for me in particular, and I helped out with that, and I absolutely loved it. And then Nicola left Marie Claire and she went to Grazia. It was when it first started, and within 6 months she gave me my first proper job as beauty assistant there, and I worked my way up to beauty editor at Grazia, and then I got my job at Vogue. So quite a long explanation there,
I guess,
but it was really down to, I guess hard work, but also people really gave me the kind of foot in the door treatment, and I really, really appreciate every step of the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely amazing. And but I mean, from where you started to where you are now, and you're still enjoying your career just as much, I guess, as when you first started. I guess it's really nice because you kind of, I can see from your journey so far, like everything you've done, you did it 100%, if not more. Like when you were at reception, you were doing other roles. Do you find that really helped? Because I find if someone's really putting in the work, you want to give them opportunities. Do you feel that was quite a game changer rather than just sticking with your roles, going above and beyond to make that happen in terms of opening up those doors?
Absolutely. And I think, someone now that is an editor, if someone volunteers to help you with something, everyone's time poor and, there's never enough resources. So to have someone go and do that, you're going to stick in their mind,
yes.
Particularly when it's a subject that they really enjoy. You're always going to excel in it, aren't you?
Yes.
So that just came naturally to me, and I'm really grateful that people gave me that opportunity whilst I wasn't actually working their department. So yeah, it's really important, I think, to kind of get known by the people that you want to end up working in the same industry in, because our industry is so small that it's really helped me just from a kind of progression point of view. And some of the people I've worked with have gone on to do the most incredible things, and we all kind of circle back and see each other every now and then. Zana, who I also worked with at Marie Claire, she now lives in New York. She's got her own beauty brand. She presents on E! Entertainment. But she's so humble. Whenever she comes back, she always puts in a coffee with me. And I was just her intern. And I just think that's so such a lovely part of our industry. And I don't know if you feel like this, but that's something that I've always said to everyone. Beauty is kind of a bit of the what's the best way to put this? Fashion is the glitz and the glamour, and I think beauty is a bit of a hidden gem in that once people get into it, they're like, oh, actually, beauty is an incredible industry. Everyone's so lovely. Everyone wants to help each other out. And there's a constant evolution with beauty, whether or not that's the positions that are created, that's the trends, the products, the development, the research. There's just so many, it's multifaceted. There's just so much going on, and we cover so much. I think it is a bit of a hidden gem that people don't realise. They're a bit like, well, what do you do then? And, I could sit here all day and talk about all the different things I've done, or, so I feel really lucky that I fell into it.
That's amazing. I guess having that supportive network where people are trying to help each other, it just makes everything so much easier. And at the end of the day, everyone just does better together, I guess. So your impressive background has seen you involved and responsible for an output of a vast edit of subjects. And you just mentioned, you could talk about so many different things. But what would you say are your personal sort of favorite subjects or pieces that you've really enjoyed doing that have stood out or had a really big impact?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because I've been lucky enough to do so much. But I wrote a piece fairly recently, actually. So I think first person pieces they're kind of the easiest, but also the hardest.
Yes,
because obviously you're not having to go and research with someone else. It's all from you. But then actually putting your words on paper that are more personal than anything else is very difficult, because you obviously want to make sure you get it right. But I wrote a piece just actually before the pandemic about feeling invisible, because I'd hit a life stage that I really felt like something had shifted. I've got children. I felt like I was a mother and I was a wife, but I wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I think it really resonated with a lot of people. And it was something that I was encouraged to write by Kathleen Baird Murray, actually. And I'd pitched it, and then I thought, gosh, why did I do that? That's really putting myself on the line. But I had so much response because I posted about it on Instagram. And perhaps it was just kind of the right time and everyone else was feeling the same way. But I had so many people say that they felt exactly that they were kind of just drifting along but didn't feel like themselves. And maybe it's a part of being a woman, and you hit that time in your life when everyone feels like that, and it's just the way of dealing with it. But that was definitely a piece that kind of stuck in my mind, and I'm so glad I wrote it, even if it helped one person feel a little bit better about themselves. I think Instagram is great at showing you the good side of a person and what they get up to. And so many people say to me, oh my gosh, you look like you have the most glamorous job. Like, I saw what you were doing last week. And then I just think I need to show more of the actual
full 360.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because the majority is really like boring, or, me tearing my hair out whilst the children are running riot. And I think, I kind of need to practice what I preach, I guess.
That's really nice. I think having that genuine voice and telling the story as it is, people love it and they appreciate that. And it takes a lot of guts to go out there and in your own words, speak the truth. So no, absolutely amazing. So both the commercial and editorial landscapes, they've developed quite dramatically over the past decade. And I guess you've seen it right from the start of your career to where you are now. But what would be your proudest career point to date, would you say?
It's going to be such a cliche, but getting my job at British Vogue.
Yeah.
I think when I first started out, Vogue, and it still is the place, that you want to work. And I kind of just always had it in the back of my mind. And people would ask me, where do you want to work? And I'd say Vogue House. And it was almost like this mythological building.
Yes.
And now I'm there. And it's still to this day is a bit of a pinch me moment, because it is an incredible place to work, and just the kind of history of it is just incredible. And the opportunities that we're given, because the brand is so well known and is so amazing, and the brands trust us with it. So there's an element of responsibility, but also it's still such a pinch me moment for me. So I have to say that, just because to look back and think, wow, I worked at British Vogue, one day. I think it will never lose its gloss and its kind of authority.
No, for sure. What about any kind of life goals that are still on your agenda?
Do you know what? I've always said I'd love to own a brand.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's a makeup brand or some sort of wellness brand, I don't know what it is. I can't pin it down, but there's definitely something. There is something in me that wants to do that. So I'm hoping that an opportunity. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I feel if I put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you said it, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it happen. So you mentioned, obviously, when you were in school and then you got the internship, etc. At that time, there was no clear career pathway, kind of an editorial landscape. If someone was starting out now, what would be your advice to them? And I know you've said, obviously, putting the work, go above and beyond. Is there anything else you would kind of say to your younger self now if you were starting off?
I think because the landscape has changed so much, you've got the digital voice now. So I would recommend anyone that wanted or wants to get into the industry to just start writing a blog, putting everything down, because that's experience in itself.
Yes.
And that wasn't really a thing when I was sort of starting out. And I think that is such a great way to just kind of realize what your strengths are, and what you're interested in as well. Because, there are certain subjects that I'm like, I'm not so good at writing about that because I'm not as interested in that. And I think it's a really good way to kind of pick out what you want to focus on. So I think knowing that is such a strength, like knowing what you enjoy writing about or what you're interested in is really valuable. So I think if you can figure that out, it will help you sort of focus on what and guide you exactly on what you want to do.
In terms of like writing, your writing's incredible. How did you learn? Did you just learn from experience on how to write well? I know it sounds like an odd question, but it's such a important but quite difficult skill to be able to write.
Yes. I did a lot of writing at school. I did all like essay subjects, so I think that helped just from a kind of like experience point of view. I think my writing style is quite simple in that I like to be quite chatty and informal. I think learning a voice through whether or not that was at Grazia or Vogue, that's something you do have to hone. And, there's great editors there. Like I've experienced amazing editors at both Grazia and Vogue. So I've been really lucky. And there's nothing wrong in asking for help.
Yes.
And I think, it does take a while to kind of get those skills. Even now, like sometimes I have a real like writing block, and I'm like, I have to walk away and think, okay, I'm going to approach this differently. And I always read other people's copy, and I'm like, gosh, that's so smart. Like I would never have written it like that. But I really and I love reading other editors' work.
Right.
And now stepping into the acting, wellness and beauty director role, I'm getting to edit people's work more. And I'm loving it. I'm loving reading, the raw copy and seeing how other people approach things, because everyone writes differently, which is why it's such an incredible skill.
Is there like an editor who you've always turned to check your work, or anyone you'd admired earlier on in your career?
I mentioned Nicola before, and it's funny because both Jess Steiner and I have worked with her, and we always say, like, what would Nick do? Like, we need to get a bracelet that says, what would Nick do? Because she always had the right answer.
Right.
And her writing is incredible. And she's always been a great mentor, for me. And I feel like I could probably ask her for advice because she's got such great skill and experience.
And in terms of sort of bringing the topics now to your day-to-day routine, you mentioned about children, work, and in your new role, etc. How do you, what keeps you inspired? Because every time I meet you, you're super smiley, 100% energy. It's really inspirational. And also you're kind of managing family life and balancing all of that quite effortlessly with your career. How do you keep going? Like, what inspires you, and how do you keep that routine?
Well, it's definitely not effortless, I'll tell you that. I'm so lucky. I have such an amazing support system. My husband, Ben, I have to mention him because he has always encouraged me. He's always said, if there's anything you ever want to do, you just need to do it. And, that works the other way as well. And, I have help with the children, and we've got family around us who are super helpful. So I have to really kind of put my hands up and say there's a lot of stuff in the day-to-day family life that I don't get to do. I have to be quite organised, laying everything out the day before, things like that, really simple sort of organisational stuff. But in the kind of like day-to-day running of the house, I'm not really involved that much. So sort of looking back to the sort of glossy Instagram, I feel like there needs to be more of a kind of like, I have help. Like, please don't think that this is like a normal thing. And, anyone that is at home looking after children full time, like, I just don't know if I could do that. I think it's such a commendable thing. So I feel like I've almost got the kind of easier end of the deal. I get to finish a coffee and I get time on my own. Right. And maybe that's why I'm smiling, because I need that. But also I think I'm really lucky that I love my job. And I think that sometimes isn't recognised as an important part of your career. I think, obviously I'm lucky that I do, and not everyone can. I'm sure you do. You're always super smiley whenever I walk in and see you. And I think, that's something that people forget. That
I think that's such an important point. And you almost take it for granted that you enjoy what you do, but the number of people who don't, and they wake up in the morning and like, oh God, work. And unfortunately you spend most of your life working. So it's so important to enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy it, then maybe think about something else.
Exactly. And I think some people are so scared, aren't they, to change career.
Yes.
It's never too late. I just literally on the way here, I was reading about, I think he was a 78-year-old guy who's taken on an apprenticeship in with a rail company. And I just thought, why not?
That's so impressive.
It's really not too late. Do you work to live or work? Live to work.
Exactly.
But no, I think you probably feel the same. You clearly love what you do, and you're giving back as well with your teaching. And I just think it's really important. You don't want to look back and think, God, I've just spent
No.
35 years. The
No.
most boring. Maybe it's going to be longer, actually, isn't it? We're not retiring anytime soon.
Exactly. No, I think that point actually on trying to give back and help others earlier on in their career, like you had, and I similarly had help in the initial stages. It's really rewarding, and it's nice to watch people develop and change and get those jobs that they want to get, and it's that keeps you going as well. I think you can only do that if you really like what you're doing as well. So sustainability, let's talk about that, because it's become a word that's so often used sort of 360 in the industry. How have you kind of personally embraced it, both in the industry and kind of personal life? Because it's become such a big thing. And I know in dental, everything we're trying to be sustainable. Even like a lot of our patients will mention about the incidental brushes, they're plastic and they don't want to use them, so we've got a whole recycling scheme, and I'm sure in the beauty world it's a big thing. So tell us more in terms of how the focus has shifted for your readers as well.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a big group of people that want to try and make a difference. I think at the end of the day, you still want those little luxuries and you still want to enjoy the products that you were buying. But I think brands are starting to realize that some people are purchasing a different brand because they offer a better sustainable approach. Yes. And, there's some really, really big brands out there like Dior and Guerlain and Estee Lauder that are really, they're setting a timeline for themselves as a company to make sure that, all of their products are refillable, for example. And so I've seen a massive shift in, say, even just the last 2 years in products. That's one of the first things that comes in the information. It's, it's vegan, it's clean, it's recyclable. Or they're putting on a program where you can come and, get rid of your empties. I think there's still a lot more we can do. But I think we're being held back by just packaging, for example, choosing a sustainaable packaging option is expensive. And, people don't want to pass that on to the purchaser. So, it's an interesting subject and it's changing all the time. Even, things like ingredients, people want to know where it's coming from. So they're looking at sort of like blockchain technology to show people exactly where their ingredients are coming from, which I thought was quite interesting. I think it was Clarence that were speaking about that last week. And it's quite interesting to see that kind of like fintech coming into beauty, which is great. But I think... I know I try and make better choices, and I'm always trying to recycle. I think until it becomes effortless and you don't have to think about it too much, that's when we're going to, actually make a really good difference. I mean, for example, when I look at flossing now, I definitely choose a more kind of sustainable option.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's hopefully going to be part of our normal, we're thinking about it more, so it wants to be like a subconscious choice as such.
Exactly.
So we always ask our guests 3 things that would either find at your desk or in your handbag as part of your sort of mini survival kit. So to put you on the spot, but what would they be for you?
Oh gosh, it's going to be really boring. Lip balm, always lip balm.
Any favorites that you have?
I love Lano lips. Anyone that will listen, I'll tell them how amazing it is. I use it on lips, like on the children's, if they've cut themselves, it's great for just like sealing any kind of like cut off and keeping it clean. I mean, there are a few. I normally have about 3 or 4 lip balms on the go. But no, definitely lip balm. Hand cream. Yeah. Love hand cream. Again, very boring. And what else do I love? Always some kind of scent. It normally ends up being the Glossier U. And they've done this really cute like rollerball version. So that's currently, one of my must-haves. But I'm going to walk out of here and think, Oh my God, why didn't I say that?
That's a great edit, I would say. Well, listen, Lauren, thank you so much. I know you're super busy with so much going on right now. So thanks for fitting us in for the podcast. For the listeners, what an inspirational conversation. If we would like to follow your journey, find out more, latest things coming up, where can we find you?
Well, you can see me on the British Vogue website.
Yes.
I'm often, I have a weekly column, so you can see what I'm loving in the week. Otherwise, you can look at my Instagram, and my handle is @Lauren Murdoch-Smith without the hyphen in between Murdoch and Smith.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Really great to have you here, and I'm sure we will see you again very soon.
Thank you so much.